Hey, this is Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic, and this is the Real Critic Roundtable. This is where African American film critics come to discuss, debate, and have fun. And I have a great panel for you today. Kicking it off is Katia Woods.
Katia Woods, Cup of Soul Show.
And then we have Sean Edwards.
Hey, what's up, my man? Thanks for having me back. Sean Edwards, Fox 4 News, Kansas City.
And then we got my Chicago dude. I call him E. Everyone knows him as Emmanuel. Emmanuel, welcome to the show, man.
What's up? Thank you so much for having me back. This is Emmanuel from E-Man's Movie Reviews. Lovecraft Country, the finale, is coming, and everybody needs to watch it. And once you get done watching it, you got to come to E-Man's Movie Reviews YouTube channel because we're going to have a nice, fun time talking about the finale of the best, the hottest show out there. Period.
That's good. Good stuff. So we're going to get into our first movie today, and that first movie is Charm City Kings. Sean, tell us what this one is about, man.
I like this movie a lot. It deals with the Baltimore dirt bike culture. It's based off of a documentary. The documentary is actually solid as well. I like what they did with this movie. It's coming of age story. Reminded me a lot in some part of Boys in the Hood and other parts, a little bit of Cooley High, but the movie basically operates on its own. The lead, and his name escapes me right now, the young guy was
Jahai.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I mean, he's not new because he's done stuff before, but he's basically new to pretty much everyone who watches the film. But I mean, just a tremendous actor. I mean, he really carried this thing. He was charming when he needed to be charming. He was serious when he needed to be serious. He had grasp and command of the character. I mean, I thought this was, there were some cliches and some things you've seen before, but I thought the film pretty much stood up on its own. I was really interested in how they interwove the dirt bike culture without the film just falling head over heels for the dirt bike culture. I thought that was a job well done by the director, who's actually from Puerto Rico. He did a great job of balancing the story and respecting the culture, and the film works overall. It's very enjoyable and one of the bigger surprises I've seen so far this year.
So what's really interesting to me on this, was you trying to jump in, E? Oh, I thought you were trying to jump in, Emmanuel.
No, go ahead. I'll go right after you.
Yeah, I was going to say what's really interesting is I saw a little bit of Biker Boys in it. I saw a little bit.
Jersey Drive a little bit. Just had a lot of different elements.
I saw a little bit of elements, and it's really interesting. You said Boys in Hood because I saw that as well, and I think that this young man was absolutely a leading actor. He was a leading actor. This wasn't like he didn't have command. I like the fact that you said that he had command. There were the soft moments with the young lady. There's the interesting moments with the parent. I think everything that was in this film was relatable, and what they didn't do, what they didn't do is what I liked, and you already said it, Sean, is they did not allow. On the surface, this seems like this is a movie about that biker culture. It actually isn't. It's not a movie about the biker culture. It's about the culture where the biker lifestyle is within it. And I just really like what they did here, and I'm going to stop for a moment because I know E was trying to get in.
Yeah, no, I echo a lot of that. I absolutely love the lead performance. I thought, the one thing that kind of felt, there were the cliche moments, as Sean had said, and in a sense, for me, and I don't know if this is a little bit of recency bias, it felt a little formulaic, only because I had just also seen Concrete Cowboys, and it really felt like the same exact movie, except replace the horses with the bikes.
Yeah, that's true.
It really followed the same formula. And the one thing that kind of like made more sense for me now was like, usually I don't really care about coming to age movies, and I started to realize that wasn't the case with this film. And I realized, I was like, wait a minute, it's because everybody's black. And I can actually relate, and I actually care. And there's nothing wrong with the formula because I liked Charm City Kings and Concrete Cowboys. So I really like what they ended up doing with this. I love the interactions and the on-screen chemistry between the actors as well. Like when the son is playing with the mom and the sister, I'm like, I feel that. Like I feel like we're just having some real voyeurism going on, and we're just watching these people in their natural element. And I thought that just really excelled. And I got to give some props to Meek Mill. I thought he did a pretty good job. Now, here's the thing. They put him in a perfectly fit role
for sure.
for him.
But you can't be mad at that.
I'm not mad at that. I'm just calling a spade
a
spade. They did not put him outside his element, but and he did exactly what he needed to do. And
his lane.
He stayed in his lane, and that's all he had to do. And he made the movie that much better.
Here's what I want to say on that, Emmanuel, is that you can have this stuff happen in real life, but when you get on camera, you can't replicate it because you are the camera paralyzes you. Yeah. So I don't want to diminish the fact that they put him in the right role, but he still had to bring it to the table. Kachi.
Yes.
Well, I think this works because Meek does this lifestyle. He is a biker. You know, this is what takes place in Baltimore, but this is very prevalent in Philly. You know, it's summertime when you hear the bikes down on Kelly Drive. So Meek is a biker. You see him in Philly on the bike. So that part wasn't hard for him. What I like though, even though this was something that he didn't have to stretch too far, but at the end of the day, you still got to believe him. And I didn't look at this and feel like I was looking at Meek. I felt like I was looking at the guy he was portraying, and that's a win-win. Also, the camera loves him, you know what I mean? And he was believable, and I like the fact that he didn't play necessarily the hero, but something that I feel like we don't talk enough about our culture. There are a lot of OGs or older guys that have been through stuff that are trying to steer young people away from certain paths. And I agree with Emmanuel. It's nice to see coming of age stories featuring young Black talent, young Black boys, and they're not in a gang and they're not going to jail, and it's not the usual stereotypical stuff. And there are, at the end, get to be the hero and get to be the guy. And I think that's really, we always talk about young girls, but I also think it's important for young boys to be able to see themselves reflected, and it's not all doom and gloom. Again, you can understand that the director understood that he captured the bike scene. I also like some of the creative choices that in the documentary, the mom is a stripper, I believe. And I'm glad they didn't make her stripper, they made her a nurse, because again, moving away from the stereotypes. And I do think, I'm gonna say this, I did not like how this movie was rolled out. We saw it at Sundance. I saw it at Sundance, and everybody loved it. And everybody was like, hoo, 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 you know, and unfortunately then we had COVID. And again, I get why it's on HBO Max, don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with, again, letting the audience that needs to know that this film is out there is not being informed and not connecting the dots. This is a good film. This has good people in it. It was made well. But it's like, when did this junket happen? Why is it always a secret? Why is the rollout always so fumbled? Do you know what I mean? And also, it's hard because a lot of people are still trying to figure out what HBO Max is, and this would have been a great opportunity introducing people to the product and at the same time doing this film justice. And I mean, you have one of the biggest hip hop stars in the freaking world in this film. Where's the Rolling Stone cover? Where's the Vibe story? Why is Meek not doing junkets? Like, he's tweeting about it, and kudos for him.
Yeah.
The interviews aren't there. And again, this is where I said this last week about 40 Version. I do want to shout out Chuck Creekmore, who did get a chance to speak to Rada. But where's the Double XL story? Where's the Two Dope Boys? Where's all hip hop? All of that. They need to get better with this.
Yeah.
This is the culture. This is their life. These are the biker boys in that movie, the hip hop generation. But there's always a disconnect. And I'm like, how are you a publicist and always so bad at understanding the audience that these films are made for?
I think part of that is also because even though Meek Mill was probably the biggest name in this, they don't really know how to market this yet, you know, because this felt kind of like an indie production, but at the same time it had like a normal film budget, a feature film budget. So I think they were kind of caught between a rock and a hard place.
That's not an excuse, though. It's
I
2020.
know. Oh, I know. It's
We
they need to
out
do
of
better.
excuses.
Well, can
You
we?
know,
I just want to make
we
a.
done with the excuses, though.
Yeah,
I want to bring it back to the film because we have these marketing discussions all the time, and there were things done with the film. I mean, every week.
Nobody knew, Sean. Nobody knew.
I did. I mean, I don't.
But you're not. I'm talking. You're in the media. The audience didn't know. Let me correct.
Oh, no. The audience, the audience. But
go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, real quick on the marketing point. We can discuss those problems all the time. I mean, those are issues I've been dealing with since like 2000. That's why I created Africa in the first place. Because marketing and reaching out to journalists has always been a problem. Now, in terms of like coverage, I mean, sometimes outlets have to take it upon them. I mean, this film's been widely known about for a long time. Sometimes you got to create like a vibe or whatever, or a complex. They have to create the narrative. So there's sort of like a catch-22 with that. But I actually want to take it back to the film and have a discussion about it. And the one thing that we haven't touched on is probably one of its most underrated elements. This film was very well written. Like it's not getting a lot of credit for how well it was written. I mean, this is a tremendous script. The way it was written deserves more kudos than it's receiving. That's all I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, and I actually want to touch on the fact that the portrayal of African American men in this, I like. They have the police, the police officer who is saying, I care. But then they have that discussion of people saying, yeah, do you really care? You're locking up people, but you're doing this.
That was great.
But absolutely great. Then you take the Meek Mill as Black and the OG. He's saying, hey, I care too. So the showing that these two polar opposite ends in some kind of way, that Black men are a part of the fabric and part of the story and part of trying to make sure that our communities are right. I love what they did there, and it doesn't come off as inauthentic to me.
No, I mean, and again, this movie came out of Sundance and won an award at Sundance with gangbusters. Black media did. We immediately tweeted out about this. The director even retweeted my tweet where I was like, the city needs to stand behind this because one of our own is in this. But I stand by what I said 1,000%. We're supposed to know about it. We work in this. But if you ask the average person in my city, the 215, they don't know about this film. And you're like, wow. I had so many people say, I didn't know about this. If you hadn't said anything, I would have skipped right over it. And that's a problem. You know what I mean? This is how we have good work get lost.
And what I will say, Sean, is that I think Disney was probably smarter, when you look at something like a Hamilton and Black is King, as to how they, and you talked about this actually, Sean, how they were able to use that as a marketing vehicle to get people to be on the platform. This is one of those movies to me that, man, this is that good to have been almost like a pillar to get people to come to HBO Max, in my thought.
I mean, I agree, but I agree, but I disagree. But I have to be honest here. I have an unfair advantage because my day job is to sit down with studios behind the scenes, and that's what we discuss like 12 hours a day, or marketing budget, strategies, and all that. And no, I don't. To be honest and to be fair, I don't see Charm City Kings being a title that could help launch HBO Max because it's not a 4-quadrant movie. So
Gotcha. Okay.
You get into some tricky situations on allocations of budgets and executions that go far beyond the time that we have to discuss on your program right now. But I will say that, being privy to actually work for a film production company and interact with studios every day and the people who run those studios, Charm City Kings is not the type of movie that could help launch a platform.
Well, we're going to let the last word to you, Emmanuel, on Charm City Kings.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a blockbuster, but it is one of those hidden gems, that like if somebody stumbles upon it or if word of mouth catches, fire or whatever, that people, I think, will enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Will Smith. You know, I think he's one of the producers as
It's
well.
his production,
You know,
him and Jada.
yeah.
It's his
Production.
company.
So,
It's
you
his
know,
company.
he's been retweeting it and stuff, the director as well. So they're doing what they can. This is the type of movie that, like, you know, again, unless somebody tells you about it, you're going to watch it. And yes, I do agree that, you know, I like the writing with it. I definitely like the fact that they highlight the systemic issues, you know, that happen to the characters. Whereas, yeah,
Right.
having these positive influences, but when the life still hits you, when your pockets are still empty, you
Yeah.
still make bad decisions. And you see that happen within even just the group of friends, you know, where they have the same upbringing, but they still end up going in different paths. So yeah, it's a nice story. It's a great layered story. I love the diversity in terms of the character representation. Absolutely worth the watch for sure.
Yeah, and it didn't go the route of the Fast and the Furious. It just
That yeah, love that,
Right.
love that.
Really
Well, look, it's a recommend, obviously, for us,
Oh,
and
yes.
and we're gonna move on to our next film. So, Katya says to me, Reggie, we should watch. Oh yes, Vampires versus the Bronx. So she gonna tell us what this one's about.
Que lo que? That my guy Miro in it, and I like. Listen, we just might be the first Latinx Heritage Month where I feel like Black people are seen, and that's a sad thing. But the fact that we have a story in an Afro-Latino boy is a hero is amazing and so overdue. I love this young man. I love the story. It's again, we're talking about coming of age stories, boys together in their neighborhood. And again, you're not watching this because it's scary. Is it the most original movie? No, but it's a feel-good movie that you can watch with your family. Also, I like the fact that the guy who made it is a New Yorker and he put New York people in there. So it's authentic to the Bronx. It's not like some outsider that's putting stuff in here and putting little sayings in there. You know what I mean? The bodega, all of those things, which are a central part of these types of neighborhoods. Again, I really enjoyed it. I love that you had different kids from different backgrounds. And shout out to Method Man, who's been getting checks all summer. Method Man's like, I'm in this for maybe 20 minutes, but that check is good. And again, this is not, you're not looking at this to be scary. You're not looking at this to be some Academy Award. This is a fun escape family movie.
So
And
it's really interesting that you would say that. So I watched it and I was like, it's all right. I mean, I'm like, you were telling me, check it out. I love the fact that Afro Latinos are in it. I love that. I thought the story was okay. It reminded me a little bit of Attack the Block, but I liked Attack the Block better than this one. But what I did is what I always do is I go to the real audience. I asked my daughter. She watched it on her own without me telling her, and she really enjoyed it. It's made for a different audience. So Reggie, okay, you didn't love it, but she was like, I just stumbled on it. I enjoyed it, and she just went on and on and on. It was too much for me. All the stuff she was saying, how much she liked it. What did you think, Emmanuel?
You know what? Look, I think the strongest point for this movie is the representation factor. This wasn't like, again, like Katya said, it's not like an Oscar Award winner. You're not going in here looking for like stunning performances or even, you know, crazy horror, because I mean, this was like PG-13. Matter of fact, like I was actually considering having my daughter watch it with me, you know, because I feel like this is a movie for her as a 13-year-old. And that's fine. You know, I think while watching this, I couldn't shake the feeling of being so happy for Afro-Latina people, you know, or Latinx people, for this movie just to exist. And I was just happy that they had the representation. I was happy that, you know, you had that authentic New York feel to it. You had the cultural aspect sprinkled in and everything. And it was just fun watching something outside of that. Now, am I going to watch it again? No.
No, no.
You know, is this in my lane of things that I need to see? Not really, but it's cute, it's funny, it has its little moments here and there, and you know, I'm just glad that it exists for them.
All right, Ashar.
No, those are all great points, and I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, the best thing about this movie is that it's just entertaining. It's just one of those, you know, you sit back and it's like, all right, I'm gonna escape, I'm gonna have some fun with it. But I agree with all the previous points that were said. It's great to see the representation. I love the fact that it was authentic. I'm glad the filmmaker, represented it was, from the city, so that, everything is true. No, it's not better than Attack the Block, but Attack the Block was 100 years ago. So for audiences checking this out of a certain age, it's a dope movie it's a dope movie experience for them. So I mean, yeah, there you go.
There you go. I will be
honest. I will disagree with E. I would watch this again.
Oh, all right. Kathy,
I'll watch it with my daughter. I'll watch it with my daughter.
Again.
I'm not gonna watch it for myself.
I would watch it again.
I think we sometimes forget that one of the major audiences for movies are families. And we've talked about a lot of movies, and a lot of the stuff has been super heavy and hasn't been very geared for movies, like, other than Mulan and even Charm City Kings. You have to decide there's some heavy stuff in there, whether or not you're comfortable with your child.
That's right.
Seeing that.
Very
This is one of those things where you can watch with the whole family. And again, we are in a pandemic. People are not comfortable going to the movie theater. Everybody can get their snack. We can sit there and hit play and kiki and haha for a little bit. And I do think that, again, we talked about representation matters. Our kids, to see someone that looks like them, you know what I mean? To be the hero and he's not perfect. He's a little corny and all that stuff. And that's good to see too. Okay. He's not the cool kid, even though he tries to be. So I think, all of that is good. Not everything we need to watch or enjoy needs to be like the grapes of wrath.
I think you make a good point.
Yeah. That's a great point. I'm just such a huge fan of Attack the Block, but Attack the Block's Attack the Block. Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with that movie when it first came out, but no, I would totally watch this again on my own. So.
Oh, dang, Sean, you got a little soft spot or something? What's up with you?
No, it's not that. It was fun, dude. I like to have fun. It's a fun movie.
The Chicago contingent is saying, dude. But what's up with you?
It's all good, man. We all
have fun, and also, our kids do need a little break from the cray.
We each own our own remote.
Hey, I hear you, but I'm thinking that those remotes in Kansas City must be up with them.
Hey, there's something about it connected, man.
No, and I feel you really, because like I said, I spoke to my daughter and she really did. She really did enjoy it. Did enjoy it. So
it was cool, man.
Excellent. All right, so we get to move to our last movie for today, and this one is the Trial of the Chicago 7. And so, for people who don't know what this is about the Democratic National Convention in 1968 being here in Chicago. And I want to tell you that I knew all of the places and all the locations that they were showing. They had it at the amphitheater, which is not in existence today. And all these different groups descended upon the Democratic Convention, because 1968, we talk about 2020 being a really rough year.
Yeah, I hate when people say that. 1968 was on a different level.
1968 was a hell of a year. And I can't even go through all the things that happened here. You just got to go back and do your research. But what happened in this film is that a number of groups descended upon the convention to protest. But Mayor Daley decided not to allow any of them to have any permits to be able to do so. So now you have all these people who have descended upon Chicago, and they really have nowhere to go. And that is a serious clash between them and the police. What ends up happening is some people get hurt, including police officers, and 7 people are tried for a federal crime because they crossed state lines and came there with the intention of doing harm or starting a riot. Starting a riot. And then they threw in Bobby Seals as an extra. Say, like, look, if we locking up people, hey, there ain't no black people up in here. Let's get Bobby Seals from the Black Panthers and throw him in there as well. That's what the movie is about. And what I will tell you is that Aaron Sorkin, who wrote and directed this, he resisted the urge, in my opinion, to make this so heavy talk that it missed the essence of what was happening during this time, from the corrupt judge to the prosecution to the actual defendants not always agreeing on everything. I like this, man. I like what they did in this film, because I not only did I identify with it, but I also think that Sorkin did a good job of not trying to preach to us about yesterday and how yesterday impacts today, but it does, and I think it did a good job. So I like this film, Sean.
No, Aaron Sorkin did not do a good job. He did a great job.
Oh,
Because this is a type of moment in history that, in order to like really surmise everything into a 2-hour feature film, is damn near impossible, because you would almost, like you said, you'd almost need to do an entire documentary series to explain how everything unfolded before the Democratic Convention, during the Democratic Convention, and after. And I thought Sorkin did a brilliant job of touching on each of those 3 points, so that you can have an understanding of what you're dealing with within the capsulation of this subject matter being condensed into a feature film. Job well done. I mean, Aaron Sorkin's a brilliant writer as is, and when you first heard he was doing this, you're like, man, is he going to overwrite this? And for one of the first few times in his career, he did not overwrite this film. Also, as a director, he did a great job, because a lot of courtroom dramas get tedious, and they get tedious really fast, and they become boring, and this never did. And he somehow managed to keep you on the edge of your seat, although a lot of people who will see this already know everything that happened. So done with that. But the win is the casting, and the double win is Yahya Abdul Mateen II, who has Bobby Seale. Like, I just wanted more scenes with him, because every time he was on camera, I was like, damn.
yeah, yeah.
Performance I've seen this year, and he's not even a lead in this thing.
Yeah, Katya. Before you start, Katya, I will say is that you were talking about this film. I don't know when you saw it, but you had been talking about it for some time. So I'm very, very interested in hearing your point of view on this one.
I feel like I was born in 70, so right in the middle of that, right? And I said when Trump was elected, I said he will be our Nixon. It's not as bad as 68, but it's a lot of similarity, right? And my issue with this film was, although I enjoyed it and I appreciated it, my problem was it was too much information in 2 hours, and I had to sit back and say to myself, if you are my daughter's age, what are you taking away from this? Are you looking and understanding who Abby Kaufman was? Do you understand who Tom Hayden was? Are you making that connection? Or are you understanding who Bobby Seale was? And the answer is no. It's almost like you don't understand that these were real people. These were like characters in this courtroom drama. I said this, and I've seen it twice now. And I sat back and I said, this would have been better served as a limited series, because it would have been given opportunity to develop who these people are and give them an introduction and understand how they're all intersecting. Do you know what I mean? And even though at the end of the movie it tells you what they did with their lives and how they expounded, we still don't understand. I don't necessarily think you can take an 18 or 19 or 17-year-old kid and be like, do you understand the importance of these men? And I don't think that's the failing in that. I kind of disagree a little bit about the courtroom drama, and maybe because I had just seen The Mangrove 9, and I saw Steve McQueen did a much better job in terms of like directing the courtroom scenes. So again, I think my problem I think it's not necessarily, it's a challenge that Sorkin had, and it's hard to put all 1968 politics into a 2-hour movie. That's hard, because that's not enough time to have people from that generation understand the different players and the different nuances. Having said that, though, I did enjoy the performances. I enjoyed Yahya, and I definitely enjoyed Sacha. I'm not a big Sacha Baron fan. Hands up, I'm going to tell you. But he was good as Abby Kaufman. I wish we would have had a little bit more development on who Tom Hayden was. Tom Hayden, a former state senator for the state of California, who no longer, and the sad part about it is, all of these people except Bobby Seale are dead now. So we really don't have anywhere to go in terms of summing all of this up. So I do think It's a good movie. I think it's an important movie because, again, we are doomed to repeat the past if we don't learn from it. There are great performances in it. But as a whole, I felt he was trying to do too much in that span of time.
All right,
We lost a lot of it.
I appreciate that. I actually disagree on the too much, but I want to hear from E. Go ahead,
I'm
man.
like right in the middle, right? So I absolutely love the writing. I mean, Sorkin, you know, man, he is the king of having people interrupt each other. But yes, so I side definitely with Katya in terms of the information overload, because I had no idea, even being a Chicago resident, about this entire case. So, and I didn't even want to look anything up until, you know, like I wanted to watch the movie, see what you present to me. And one thing that I usually use as a barometer or indicator of how good a historical or a movie that's based on historical events does is, do you inspire me to actually learn more? And this did. I did end up, you know, looking up everything, and I was like, they did what to Bobby Seale? Like, wait, the judge really did this? You know, so like all those emotions and stuff, the film successfully got out of me to the point where it inspired me to actually look up more of it and actually see what really transpired. But at the same time, it didn't have enough time to do everything, I think, to give it the justice that it did. Because when I did look it all up, I was like, we didn't get all this. Like, wait a minute, more stuff happened. What happened? You know, so outside of that, you know, the film can only do what it can do. For what it is, I think it is good enough. I do think that it is inspirational enough. The performances were out of this world. I loved Sasha. Sasha, I thought, was like it. Like he carried the movie for me. Every time he was on screen, I was entertained, and I was
believed him.
I
believed everything.
I believed he was Abby, right?
Right. And even when they were doing like the comical stuff, I was like, wait, y'all didn't really do this. Oh, they really didn't do this. Y'all really did this. So,
but where I push back though, where I push back a little bit, Emmanuel, is that I think that if you leave a movie and you say that it made you go and do the research, then I think it did its job, because it cannot. There's no way in the world that it could encapsulate all that. Would it be interesting to have seen this as a series where you get Kelvin Harrison Jr.'s character, you get Bobby Seals, you get these people and you get more? I'd say it would be interesting, but I think
there's no biopic that's ever been made that can do that. Even the ones we consider great have like left off just tons of information. I mean, take one of the greatest like biopics ever made, which is Nixon, which I believe comes the closest to almost encapsulating everything that Nixon did his entire life, and still left out a ton. You know, that's my big.
I'm gonna push that back. Because you can look at something like Malcolm X, and even
Malcolm
though there was still stuff that, you know, was left out, I think that even for the average viewer, if you watch Malcolm X, you can still walk away and be like, I think I know enough to have a good understanding of who he was.
Malcolm X is a bad movie.
Oh, come on, stop that.
Yeah, don't even get this. Let's don't go there, Emmanuel, because he be tripping.
No, I'm
not. To get back to this, though, at the end of the day, though, we can't. Here's the thing. In movies like that, I have to take myself out of. I was a political science major. I grew up in a house where we spoke politics. I grew up in a house where people were very active. So I can't use myself as the litmus test, because we grew up reading stuff like that and being very informed. I have to say, if you are a person who is not political, who didn't understand the youth movement, who hasn't really studied that era of 68, we got to also remember it's the height of the Vietnam War. The reason why Abby and Tom were in this because their friends were dying. Right. Like, that's huge. Like, the people you grew up with up and down your street were not coming home. So all of that is in itself is in the backdrop of this. So I still always have to say is, are you getting that emotional impact? Are you getting that's why they're in the movement?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
You know? Yes.
Especially with the
ending. I don't
ending.
think you are, though, because
the ending. The very ending is Tom reading the list.
But the point is, you shouldn't have to get to the 2 hours in the end to understand that the litmus of this is part of the Vietnam War. But again, I asked that question, if you are not familiar with the history, are these people coming across to you as real? And speaking
I
of
can see
Kevin
that.
Harrison, stop having him be the pop-up guy. Kevin Harrison is a really good actor, and they keep putting him in these parts. And we know, and I don't want to get into politics about it, but he's better than what they're offering him.
He did
Yeah,
a very
yeah,
good Fred Hammond.
I
He did
really
a
do.
very good
I
Fred.
really do feel you. So, Katya, my question to you is: Is this a watch it?
I definitely think you should watch it, but I would like to see someone do this in a limited series and introduce these characters better, so you
Okay.
understand why Tom and Abby, even though they were fighting for the same thing, were adversaries.
No problem. Sean, is this a watch it?
It's definitely a watch it, and it's also going to be a leading Oscar contender in several categories.
Emmanuel, is this a watch it?
Absolutely.
All right, I think so too. So that's it for our movies for the day, and we're about to move into our next section to talk about some topics. So we have some things to talk about today. We say have some fun. Here's our first topic today. Does anybody care? Anybody?
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody cares. Watch.
The Gal Gadot is going to play Cleopatra?
Oh my God, I cannot believe the stupidity. I cannot believe the ignorance, and I cannot believe the arrogance. I mean, who is running Paramount? Who greenlit this? I mean, have they not been paying attention to the 100 years of Hollywood history, and more importantly, everything that's gone down in the past couple of years to make this mistake? I mean, you actually have execs out here making this mistake. I mean, this is just, it's beyond baffling, and it's also insulting.
So you had a problem. You had a problem with Elizabeth Taylor, Sophia Loren, Vivian Lee.
100%. Because the problem, we can't even blame this problem on Hollywood. We have to blame this problem on the American educational system, because look, Africa is one of 7 continents. Africa is a continent. There are 41 different countries in the continent of Africa. Egypt is one of them. The Middle East is not a real thing. It's a political designation designed by evil countries that practice colonization in order to capitalize on resources in that region. But people, Egypt's in Africa. And you can't escape that fact. And, man, God bless these people.
Come on, E.
I'm just gonna say, because I've been in a lot of film groups and a lot of online conversations. The second this was brought up, matter of fact, I posted it on my own fan page. I was just like, "Yo, y'all good? Y'all ready for this?" And already the main defense you're gonna have is, Cleopatra was not black, that she was Greek and Polynesian.
She was Greek. She was Greek.
All this stuff. And I think the scapegoat here, or the excuse for the production company, is that Gal is part Israeli. So it's like, hey, check off, like, we got it, and she's a name, so boom,
it's not even so much about that. I just don't think this film needs to be made in the first place.
I'm very okay with it not being made.
Yeah,
I was not missing this. I was not missing it. I was not looking for it.
Who was asking for this?
Katya, she was asking for it. She was excited.
Okay, here's the thing: is as problematic as the Cleopatra is with Elizabeth Taylor, it's still a good film. It's not historically correct, but it's an entertaining film. Now, the last time we went down this road, it was Exodus, Gods and Kings, Ridley Scott movie, who said he didn't need to hire anybody of color to play the main parts.
Terrible.
And that movie imploded at the box office. It went concrete. So you would think, if nothing else, if you don't care about historical references, you will look at that and be like, let's not do that again. And also, here's my other thing is, I say this all the time when we talk about allyship. A lot of Black women directors support Patty Jenkins. And Patty Jenkins to be so tone deaf about not understanding why this is not okay. And that's it. Let's go with this narrative that she was Greek and Polynesian. Girls, that still doesn't fit that narrative. She still is lily white at the end of the day.
They gonna give her a little
tan. All right, so
they gonna give her a little tan. That's all.
So I can't stay on this all day, but come on. What Black women would y'all want to have do this?
I mean, Hallie's a little bit too old now, but she would fit that. But this thing is going to go concrete, just like this did.
So
I'll be honest, I do not know, but I do know personally, if I were an exec, I just would avoid all of this and not make this movie.
Not even make the movie. All right, Emmanuel.
Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe.
Kravitz.
So you want
Yeah,
Zoe in this?
somebody that she's part Jewish. So there you go.
But she ain't go. But Zoe can't even keep High Fidelity on the air. So
man, look, do you want the look or do you want the acting? What do you want? Pick one. It ain't gonna be both. It ain't gonna be both.
No, yeah, it has to be. Working for a film production company, it has to.
It has to be.
I mean, Zoe's over there being Catwoman. She ain't worried about no Cleopatra.
Yeah.
All right. Well. We talk about things being canceled because Sean is trying to cancel this movie. Let's talk about should the Oscars be canceled?
No.
Why?
No.
Why?
I don't think so. I don't think so because I think we got basketball champion. Oh, I didn't know, Katya. I'm sorry. We got basketball championships. We got baseball championships. We got all kind of stuff happening. Those people who can adapt have to adapt. And it is what it is. So if you're going to tell me get an asterisk, Katya, I don't know if I told you, Katya.
There's a purple
Lakers won. And just by the way, Katya, I mean, I know we're talking movies, but
fraud fan.
It's not. Hey, I will tell you what, though, Reggie, you made a good point, though. The philosophy should be adapt or die. And how you just gonna disregard all the films that have already been released, some of which are fantastic. Yep. I mean, the storytelling and the representation and the diversity has been fantastic this year. If you pay attention and if you've been following, there's some great movies that deserve to be recognized. I mean, just because Steven Spielberg didn't want to release West Side Story and put it out on a streamer on VOD doesn't mean we cancel the Oscars. And that's what this is really about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Emmanuel.
No, I was just going to say, excuse me, this isn't a detriment on the films. That's more of an issue on the distributors and production companies that just want to make more money once theaters actually open. Okay. So you are choosing to exclude yourself and wait until 2021, which I think is dumb because you're being in a more crowded field, with more movies releasing at that time. That's more competition for you. So it makes it even harder for you to achieve that goal of trying to win that award that gets you more notoriety and more press, etc. And yeah, as Sean said, there have been some really solid films that have already released that need that representation, that need that highlight, and I'm all for it because I strongly believe, especially post George Floyd, you're gonna get like that little racial push for this year. I don't think Oscar So White is dead yet. It always happens. We get that one little push, and then the next year they forget and everything relapses. But I'm always for at least we get something. So
and Katya, you had been saying for some time that you felt that this has allowed for certain movies to be noticed that might not have been noticed. Do you think that's good for the Oscars?
Absolutely. This is the year of small independent movies. So I agree with Emmanuel. Isn't it interesting where you actually may have more than one person of color in categories? Now all of a sudden we're talking canceling. We weren't having this problem. This might actually be the year that Kate Winslet is not leading the nomination talk and all this stuff. So I do think, it's important. I do also think, I think it's important for the actors and the talent. They deserve to have their moment. I would never deny anybody their moment. That's a goal and a dream for a lot of people, and you have a right to have that dream. And I also feel like, it's an opportunity because the Academy Awards ratings have been slipping for the Academy to reinvent itself, honestly reinvent itself, and make the award show more palatable for the audience. You know what I mean? That it's trying to get. But I feel like I'm so glad that the people behind Miss Juneteenth are launching an Oscar campaign. Why not? They deserve to be in the running. If we're talking about the best, Nicole Beharie is wings about what Kate Winslet is doing in that freaking boring whale movie. You know what I mean?
Just tell us how you feel. But you actually give me a really good segue to our last topic we're going to get to. We'll have to talk about Halloween and scary movies next week. But do you guys think that and I'll start with you, Katya, do you think that the pandemic has helped or hurt Black filmmakers?
No, it's helped. it's helped because these other movies, like Emmanuel said, they care about the cash grab. So they move to 2021 because, again, these budgets are crazy. And we are, at the end of the day, it's a business. So it's enabled these smaller movies to get press coverage that they might not have gotten. You know, the Hollywood Reporter, Variety is actually writing about these films, not just during the festival season, but outside of the festival season. And I think, again, that's important. I said it and I'll stand on this all year long. The best films made this year were made by women directors, and they're all different and they're all interesting and they have a story and they have great performances. So again, I'm interested in seeing whether or not I'm with Emmanuel. Everybody put up a little black square and we did the performative art, but now it's time to show and prove. If we're really about the best, not who has the most money to campaign, then these nominations should look a lot different this year.
All right, Sean.
Let me start with this. Number one, 100% the pandemic has helped Black filmmakers, especially Black independent filmmakers, because the lack of tentpoles and blockbusters, I agree, has allowed for some of these films to get the spotlight that they typically would not have received. But I also have to push back on filmmakers who decided to move their movies because it's a cash grab. Making movies is a business. I actually work for a production company where we pushed our movie too, and you just can't invest millions of dollars and not be able to get them back. So I'm not going to fault anyone for moving their movie because, number one, whether you're an independent film or a major tentpole, the reason why the film got made is to make money back because you're beholden to the people who financed it, and someone put up the cash to have that production get made and to market and advertise that production. So yeah, I'm never going to think of moving something negatively as bad because we're in the business of making money. In terms of the Academy Awards, like Katya said, let's recognize the best, although unfortunately you're still going to have multi-million-dollar awards budgets regardless. So it's not like it's going to be that. I mean, I don't want to be disillusioned or make anybody think something's going to happen that's not. It's still going to be tough, particularly for a fantastic film like Miss Juneteenth to cut through despite the pandemic and the changing dynamics of this year's award season. But hey, I'm all for it, and I'm glad that Black filmmakers are getting the spotlight on their films. The trick is going to be what happens post-pandemic. Will Black filmmakers still receive the limited amount of resources that are going to be made available after the pandemic because financing will be down in the business?
Yeah, so I think that it has helped Black filmmakers who have made their films. I don't think it has helped. I don't think that the pandemic has helped Black filmmakers who were trying to make their films.
No, it's not.
And so I want to make that distinction. Emmanuel, you have the last word because we got to close it out, man.
Yeah. No, I think Sean actually proved my point. It is a cash grab. Now, that's not, and that's fine. Like, it's fine if it's a cash grab because y'all do need to make money. I get it, but in terms of trying to win awards and trying to get recognition and all that, there was a decision that had to be made. It is what it is. But yes, absolutely, the pandemic has helped Black indie films and filmmakers just in terms of recognition and exposure. I mean, this time, had there been no pandemic, I would have been covering, Marvel films and stuff like that and other big tent blockbusters, and I never would have seen Charm City Kings. That would have been something that would have been sitting on my queue forever, and I would have watched it 4 years later. So, yes, just the mere fact that we have the time, we have the exposure, we have the representation, and because, again, I don't want people to miss this, because of not just the pandemic, but also because of the killings that have been happening. If George Floyd didn't happen, I don't think we would have had this many pushes for inclusion, for diversity, to push up and push to the forefront different films, especially by those by Black folks and such. So I think it's a combination of all of that.
Cool.
But at the end of the day,
he makes a great point. Not only did George Floyd help filmmakers, George Floyd has definitely helped people like us who cover film, because I have never been approached by more people who talk about the check first.
Yes.
Like,
Same.
I have worked with everyone
You
from
signed a contract for a panel, and I was like, and you're paying me. Nice.
No. George Floyd. George Floyd has a lot of people smiling when they open up their bank accounts.
Now, that's really good. Before we leave, I'd like to ask, because everybody's talking about how it has opened up for Black filmmakers, just one word or whatever the name of the film is. What was your best Black film so far this year? I don't have one, so I'm cheating because I'm asking y'all.
Oh, that's easy for me. I've been pushing this film since we started this program. Miss Juneteenth. I still haven't seen anything better overall than Miss Juneteenth. Nicole Bahari's performance still stands out in my mind, but I also really like Charm City Kings, but it's not an Oscar film, so Miss Juneteenth.
Yeah. I'm gonna let Kati go last. Go, Emmanuel.
Man, I don't know if it's because I don't think the director was black, but I'm really, really loving Concrete Cowboys. That just really touched me, you know, and it's very similar to Charm City Kings. But also, I'm gonna just, you know, cheat and also say One Night in Miami. I just loved the entire set of that. So that's on my top list.
I think the reason I say I don't have one yet because Charm City Kings really spoke to me. It really did.
A good movie.
It spoke to me in such a way. So I'm at Charm City Kings right now, and Katia to close out the show.
I'm gonna say Farewell and More because it talks about an immigration story that we only talk about immigration from the Latinx perspective, and although that's important, but immigration is way bigger than that, and it really shows you what families go through, and also we get a Black immigrant perspective, which I think is also important to see.
Excellent. Hey guys,
I forgot about one, Reggie. I forgot about one, man. I got True to the Game too.
Okay.
True to the Game too, baby.
I didn't even know there was a one. Did we need either though?
Look, this
is giving people jobs.
This is the Real Critic Roundtable. We had a great guest, great time this week. We'll see you next week. This is where African American film critics come to discuss, debate, and have fun. Later.